What is up, fellas? It is week 8, NFL points, picks, and props. He's Ben O'Connell in Chicago, Illinois. That is Tommy Burch in Springfield, Massachusetts. I am Kyle Garlett in Denver, Colorado. And you, the lucky viewer and listener, you have tuned into the best show about NFL betting. And there's no disputing that. We're just that good. So our job tonight, we're recording this at night. Whenever you watch it, you could watch it during the day. Our job here is to make sure that you have all of the information you need to place the best bets on Sunday and Monday of NFL Week 8. And guys, it makes me a little sad. We're almost halfway through the season now, and I hate how fast the NFL season goes and how slow the offseason goes. But man, it's been a great season. Tommy, not here to pick on you at all, but 49ers were the best team in the NFL. I mean, bar none. 2 weeks ago, they were the best team in the NFL. We don't want to overreact. They're still obviously a very talented team, and I know that injuries played a part. I mean, they were missing Debo and Trent Williams, but but their defense is pretty healthy, and they didn't get to Kirk Cousins one time on Sunday there. So, or on Monday night. What do we make of what's happening in San Francisco?
Well, I think that it's not necessarily about San Francisco being bad. I mean, they got humbled for sure. And I think we kind of understand that, any given Sunday, and Brock Purdy, I mean, we had to see some sort of flaw eventually, because we've seen an entire second half of a season last year and a postseason, and the start of this season was, you couldn't have asked for more from the guy. I mean, he played incredibly. 2 bad games in a row, shit happens realistically. But I think this is more of me complimenting the Vikings. We gave them a lot of crap at the beginning of the season, especially if you start so slow, but there's a lot of teams that start slow and come back to the top. And we all know that Vikings team has a lot of talent, and they got their groove going. They picked things up. The offense looks like the gears are running so smoothly. They just put a little bit of WD-40 in there. It's sexy. I love it. It's as much as I hate, my Niners taking a huge L and throwing that last second pick that ended up on Trash Sports Play's Instagram page that I had to scroll through my Instagram feed and see the next day, see Brock Purdy throwing an interception over the middle, which, that just made my morning, obviously. But I'm kind of like, I like the Vikings. I'm happy that if any team was going to beat us, it was them. But I guess, we're not the best anymore.
Well, as you said, though, any given Sunday, and that was especially true this last Sunday. So there were 5 one-win teams that were playing on Sunday. 4 of them won. Only one one-win team remains. We do still have our 0-win team in Carolina, but 4 of the 5 teams that were winning this weekend with just 1 win all came out with 2. One of those teams was the Chicago Bears, being led by Tyson Bagent. Now, you guys remember when like John Wofford and Bryce Perkins and Matthew Stafford were all down, and so the Rams went out, grabbed Baker Mayfield off waivers. He was in LA for like 36 hours, learning a brand new offense, and he went out and won the game. Do you guys remember who he beat? He beat Josh McDaniels and the Las Vegas Raiders. Do you remember when the Indianapolis Colts hired some ridiculous guy to be their head coach who had 0 head coaching experience? And he went out and didn't know what the hell he was doing. And he coached his very first game, and he won that game. You guys remember who he beat? He beat Josh McDaniels and the Las Vegas Raiders. So we've now got an undrafted rookie free agent from a Division II school called Shepherd named Tyson Bagent. He's making his first ever NFL start last Sunday, and he went out there and kicked some ass and won. Did you guys see who he beat? He beat Josh McDaniels and the Las Vegas Raiders. Are you sensing a theme here? Josh McDaniels and the Las Vegas Raiders, whatever they don't. We'll just call them Vegas because they don't deserve a name. They suck ass, and so we always play a game here. For those of you who are new to the show, we play a game so that we can determine who gets to make their picks first here on our show. And tonight's game, we're going to talk about the worst coaches in the history of the National Football League, because right now we are seeing that happening in Las Vegas. We're seeing a new, not even really a contender. I mean, this guy's running away with the award. He was absolute garbage in Denver. He is now even worse. Somehow he got worse as a head coach now that he's in Las Vegas. And so we're going to go through. I am going to describe for you the terrible head coach, and you are going to see if you can't name said head coach. These are all really god-awful head coaches that really had no business being head coaches in the National Football League. Who was our winner last week? Do you guys remember? That was Tommy Burch. Yes. Okay, so Tommy, we're going to go ahead and start with you. Okay. So I'm this is like almost like a bet your life kind of thing. I'm going to speak as the head coach, and then you're going to tell me who I am. I abruptly left the Atlanta Falcons one day after my quarterback, Michael Vick, was sentenced to prison for dogfighting. I came to the Falcons for 5 years and $24 million, and I left to take the job in Arkansas after just 13 games. Signed a 5-year contract with the Atlanta Falcons, fulfilled 13 games of that contract before resigning to take a job with the Arkansas Razorbacks.
I know his last name. It's Petrino, I think.
The last name is fine. You are correct. It is Bobby Petrino. Bobby Petrino, 5 years, said, and so he was making, like $6 million a year in Atlanta. He went to Arkansas, where he was making like $2 million. Whatever, Bobby. Apparently the NFL, a little too tough for you. All right, Ben, on to you.
All right.
I finished 3-13 my first season, 7-9 my second season, and an NFL record 0-16 in my third season. And my defense allowed an NFL record 517 points that season, even though I previously won a Super Bowl as a defensive coach. Who am
I? Is it Matt Patricia?
It's not Matt Patricia.
Good
Tommy,
guess.
Do you know who this is?
No idea.
It is Rod Marinelli. He was the Detroit Lions head coach when they became the first 0-6 team in NFL history. Of course,
right team though.
Hugh Jackson and the Browns matched that record a few years later. Okay, Tommy, over to you. My dad is a Hall of Fame head coach. Me, not so much. I was hired to be a head coach at age 32, went 19-52 over 4.5 seasons, and 3 times I lost as many as 11 games in a season. I was also 0-2 straight up against my dad.
Wait, so say how old was he when he got hired?
32.
Is this
a young guy, very young guy?
Because this is making me think of David Shula.
It should, in fact, make you think of David Shula, because it is David Shula. David Shula
Goodness gracious.
19-52 as an NFL head coach, and not surprisingly, his dad Don beat him both times they faced each other.
Kyle,
because Don was a pretty good head coach.
Kyle, I don't know jack all about terrible head coaches. You're just handing me the only ones I know. I'm just letting you know that now. This is a luck-based system right now.
Hey, it's better to be lucky than good. That's a words of wisdom right there. All right, Ben. I was 4-28 in 2 seasons as the Jets head coach, and I famously passed on drafting Warren Sapp and instead took tight end Kyle Brady. I also once proudly made Neil O'Donnell the 3rd highest paid player in the NFL.
I can picture him. I don't know his name. I'm screwed. No, I don't know.
Okay, it is Tommy. Do you know who this successful head coach was?
No idea, Kyle.
Rich Kotite. He was. Obviously, you've got Adam Gase, who was a terrible Jets head coach as well. Rich Kotite, though, was even worse than Adam Gase. All right. Back to you, Tommy. Like Bobby Petrino, I lasted just 13 games of my 5-year contract with the New York Jets. And like Petrino, I left the NFL for Arkansas, albeit in 1976, many years before he did. I ended up doing okay in college football, however, winning a national championship in 1988 with Notre Dame.
I have no idea. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Ben, do you know who the Notre Dame head coach was in 1988? Had a very brief and unsuccessful stint with the New York Jets. He was 3-10 in those 13 games.
No, I have no clue.
This is Lou Holtz, Mr. Lou Holtz.
Oh,
I feel like I should have known that one. It is what it is.
Excellent coach in college, terrible coach in the NFL.
It doesn't translate. I promise you it doesn't translate.
Okay. So, Ben, over to you. I was 5-27 in my 2 years as the Lions head coach, and I am the only coach in the history of sudden death overtime to win the coin toss and opt to kick the ball. I ended up losing that game after stupidly accepting a holding penalty that gave my opponent another chance on third down. I also sat idly by on the sideline and watched my quarterback, Stoney Case, throw 7 interceptions in one game. Who am I?
no clue.
Tommy, do you know who this?
Wait, what was the stat about the coin
He
flip?
w-
And
He won the coin. This was back when overtime was still sudden death. He won the coin toss and elected to kick. He never got the football back because his opponent was the Chicago Bears that afternoon, and they went down and scored. He could have set up he could have given them a 4th and 8. Instead, he accepted the holding penalty that gave them a 3rd and 18, which they converted and went down and scored.
Kyle, I don't know, but the reason that I asked that specific question is because when you said coin flip and elected to kick, the first thing I thought of was Bill Belichick against the Jets,
Same.
because I was at that game in MetLife when that happened. So, but no, I have no idea at all.
This was Marty Morningweg. Marty Morningweg was not a good head coach. Not surprisingly, after finishing 5-27 in his 2 years in Detroit, he has never been hired as a head coach again. All right. Tommy, you did win our competition, but I want to give you guys the tiebreaker question anyway, just because it's fun. So here it is. Which one of you guys can get closest to the actual total? How much money has Josh McDaniels stolen from the Broncos and Raiders?
So you have to give like
He had a 4-year contract with the Broncos. He did not fulfill it, but they had to pay him out. And he currently has a 4-year contract with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Does this count like the rest of his contract with the Raiders?
Yes, because that money, there's zero chance he's going to turn into a good coach. That money is all stolen.
So it's 8 years. I'm gonna
8
say
total years.
I'm gonna say 67 million.
67 million. Okay, Ben, do you have a number in mind?
Like, probably like 80, right? 80 mil.
It is 51.9 because he only got 11.9 out of Denver because he was still
smart.
young. The Raiders saying, "Well, you've proven yourself. Let's give you $10 million a year." So they have given him 4 years, $40 million. They fired him tomorrow. Well, that's one of the reasons why maybe they haven't fired him, is because they have to pay his contract out anyway. So Mark Davis is just kind of white knuckling it through Josh McDaniels being a god awful head coach. All right. Yes, he has stolen nearly $52 million from the Broncos and Raiders. That does not include, of course, the money that he got from the New England Patriots, because he happened to be there the same time Tom Brady was there.
But to his credit, though, he did draft the only Broncos quarterback that they drafted to win a playoff game. True, he did move up to draft Tim Tebow, and maybe that wasn't the greatest move of all time. But, right, like, that's a cool stat. or something.
It is. I mean, look, he's look, as a Chiefs fan, if the Raiders want to sign him to a 20-year extension and just like get signed to a lifetime contract, will the team to him afterwards so that even after the Davises pass on, that he can just be the Raiders head coach in perpetuity, I'm all for it. But as a football fan who likes competitive football, he should have been fired weeks ago. Anyway. All right, Tommy.
He was good until he was caught cheating.
Yeah. Well. Jim Harbaugh. Okay. Tommy Burch. We're going to put you in the big window because you are going first with your picks. And we are going to start with what could be a pretty good game if the Rams do a little bit better than they did last week. I don't know why I didn't show up for that. Well, we got the Rams at the Dallas Cowboys. The point spread is 6.5.
If it'll be a good game, it's not going to be a good game. You both know. And if whatever consistent viewers also know, I am a huge fan of teams off of the bye. You get an entire extra week of preparing for this team, and you're at home, and you're already one of the more elite teams in the NFL. The Rams are good. I think the Rams on offense are something to behold this season. I think we all thought that their Super Bowl year was a fluke. Maybe last year was the fluke. They look incredible. They're firing on all cylinders, but the Cowboys are going to be one of their best competitions on defense, and they got an extra 7 days to watch film, get into practice, rep it out. They probably know that Rams playbook by the back of their hands at this point. Dallas Cowboys -6.5, not a doubt in my mind.
Well, the Rams last week got TJ Watted. Without TJ Watt, the Rams probably win that game, but he is a stud. Turns out the Dallas Cowboys also have a pretty good defensive player on the end who can do all the things that TJ Watt can do. And Micah Parsons, we are in Dallas. The Cowboys, they now have a chance to really kind of be a 2 seed in the NFC. Or I guess they'd have to catch the Eagles first, but still, all about Dallas. I think they win this game pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think that they see the 49ers slipping right now. They're looking to capitalize, move up over the rivals in the standings there in the NFC. I like Dallas by 6.5.
And tell me, before we hop off this game, I know that there's a prop bet.
I forgot that I put this in
particular game.
Yes.
So, Mr. Dak Prescott.
Yeah, Dak Prescott. I'm not usually one to ride the Dak Prescott train. I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, to be honest with you. I think he's maybe a good person, but as a player, I'm not sold on him. And 275 passing yards this week, more than any other week, seems great for me because, I mean, the Rams' defense is okay. Their strong suit right now is obviously their offense. Even running the ball with Kyren Williams, he was one of the best in the league so far when it came to rushing yards. And but I think that their defense is just okay at times. And the Cowboys, on the other hand, they got 2 weeks to prepare. Dak studies. You know, he's not a Justin Fields that doesn't know how to read an NFL defense. He's with an extra week of work, this guy is gonna tear up this Rams defense. I think that too. I think he's gonna throw for 300. If who was it? If Derek Carr can throw for 300 yards against the Jaguars, then he can throw 300 yards against the Rams. Plus 210 money seems nice.
Yeah, it took Derek Carr 87 passes to get there. But yeah, no, if this was plus 110, I may be like, I don't know, but it was a chance to double your money and you're not even having to hit 300. I think that's a pretty good value for 275. So yeah, I would definitely be on that as well. Good find by you. All right. This game, speaking of Derek Carr, could be interesting. Gardner Minshew just tore apart a really good Cleveland Browns defense.
Yes, they did. And this is kind of my debatable pick of the week. I think I've been very consistent about picking the Colts, and I was very, very tempted to pick the Colts. However, I'm happy with the confidence that the Saints have in Derek Carr throwing the ball this week after the injury. And because, what was it, AC joint?
AC
I'm
joint,
pretty
yeah.
sure it was AC. Yeah.
It was.
Especially in the throwing arm, that can be something tough to come back from. It can take a little while. You just got to get back into the motions. And if you're going to let the guy throw the ball over 50 times in a game, and he didn't do terribly. I mean, he played smart. He only threw one pick, 1-for-1. They lost the game only by one score to a very good Jaguars team.
And they were fingertips away from tying that thing at the end, too. So
Exactly. They were right there. And I think that the Saints are starting to put things together on offense. They put up 24 points. I've been talking about it week by week. The Saints' biggest problem is that they can't score the ball. Their defense has been carrying them. The 24 points gives me a little more confidence in them. If Derek Carr can air the ball out a little bit, Alvin Kamara looks like he's back into getting starting rotation touches. Even Taysom Hill had a rushing touchdown, I think, didn't he?
And, he did. He did, actually. And Taysom Hill, he provides a spark to this team that I wasn't sold on a couple of years ago, but man, I do like him when he's on the field now.
I'm a diehard Taysom Hill fan. If that's one of the NFL jerseys I want in the future. That guy is a freak. I mean, if you watch his highlights, he's on punt team, kickoff, kick returns. Love him. But I think he had like 5 rushes for 20 yards and a touchdown, something along those lines. And Alvin Kamara, he had about 150 combined yards, 90 receiving, 60 rushing. And I think we're starting to really put things together. Michael Thomas is catching touchdown passes again. This is feeling like a little bit retro Drew Brees Saints. Obviously, Derek Carr's no Drew Brees, but if he can be sufficient in passing the ball, this team has a lot of playmakers. I think they can tear up the Colts defense a little bit. And their defense, I think, is close to the Browns defense. I don't think they're on the same level, obviously. But if there is an S tier, an A tier, and a B tier, Browns defense is probably an S tier, and I'm putting them in an A tier. So I think they squeak this one out.
No, I think the Saints obviously have a very good defense. When you've got a healthy Michael Thomas and Chris Olave, the weapons that they have compared to what Indianapolis has is obviously superior. Jonathan Taylor, though, started to look like the old Jonathan Taylor in that game last week. And if he can start to look like he did 2 years ago, this Colts offense is going to be really challenging for a lot of teams because, I mean, obviously, Minshew broke 300 yards against the Browns, but Taylor was averaging 4.5 yards per carry. And I don't know. I like the way this Colts team is playing. They're at home. There's a lot of spunk to them. The Saints, what concerns me is that Alvin Kamara, he's played 4 games. He has 37 catches. That to me is way too many when you have those studs on the outside like that. I feel like that Carr is going to his checkdowns too fast and too often. And at some point that's going to bite them. Maybe not this week. This is going to be a close game. Obviously it's, we have it at +1 for the Saints, but actually I've been looking, I think it moved to a pick 'em at this point. I'm going to go with the Colts, but I mean, it's really a coin flip, I think. It's really a 50-50 kind of game.
For me, I'm going to have to go with the Colts simply just because the Saints last week, they were so close to sending the game to overtime, even maybe going for the win with the 2-point conversion there. But the first 3 quarters were just so slow from them. They had an explosive fourth quarter where they end up putting 15 points up. But in the first 3 quarters, they only found 9. I think that Jacksonville is still a young team. I think they took their foot off the gas in some respects. It was Thursday night. I don't think that a Minshew-led Indianapolis Colts team makes that same mistake. I'm going to go with the Colts on this one.
All right.
I'll make sure you guys are eating bird next week.
It's New Orleans. There's great food in New Orleans. I'll take whatever New Orleans needs. Whatever I need to eat to make penance with the city of New Orleans, I will do so. All right. Our newest friend, Tyson Badgett, he's at the Los Angeles Chargers. What do we think?
This one was incredibly tough for me. And if I obviously, I'm not going to be one to usually say this, but I'm here to make a pick, but doesn't mean you have to put your money on it. I wouldn't put money on this game because these are 2 incredibly inconsistent teams, and you have no idea what you're going to get from them week in and week out. That's my take on this. Now, let's go to the part where I think the Chargers are going to win. The Bears, 1 week of Tyson Badgett, I'm all for him, right? I'm a big supporter, especially of D2, D3 guys. I was very happy that the Bears won that game. And I do want to root for the underdogs, And just the one problem is, like, obviously he did everything that he was asked, but they have to simplify the offense a lot for a guy who not only didn't play at the Division 1 level, but it's his first year in the pros. He's not experienced. And obviously he hasn't been getting 1 reps at all since the season started. It's going to be a simplified offense. The Chargers got to watch them last week, and I think that 1 week of film is just enough to damper that Bears energy. And Dante just played out of his mind. I don't think that happens every week. I think he's obviously the Chargers are terrible against the run, but the Bears running back room isn't that deep. And I think without that extra rushing attack, I mean, Tyson played pretty well on the ground, but I think obviously Justin Fields is elite in that regard. Chargers are just I believe they are a better team overall. They are firepower on offense. They kept it real close with Dallas and the Chiefs. Just not much you can do against the Chiefs. I hate to break it to you. I don't think the Chiefs is diminishing their record at all. Because what are they, 2-2 right now?
Chargers?
Oh wait, no, they're more than that.
They're 2-4. They're 2-4
because they played the Dolphins and the Niners. Not the Dolphins. The Dolphins and Titans. Titans was a fluke.
They got spanked by the Titans.
Spanked? Didn't they only lose by 3? But they got spanked. Like you could tell.
Titans losing to the Titans by half a point is getting spanked.
It's kind of sad, but I really do think they've picked it up in ever since that game. I mean, Vikings, Raiders, close with the Cowboys. Obviously lost to the Chiefs. That was pretty devastating. But I think the Bears are just gonna suck this week. Realistically, I don't think they can keep up this momentum.
Well, look, Brandon Staley is a terrible head coach, but he's better than Josh McDaniels, and so I assume the Chargers will have a better plan for the Bears than the Raiders had last week. But what we saw from the Chargers against the Chiefs, they played zone the entire first half. And what did we see in that first half? Travis Kelce just going and finding the hole in the zone and Patrick Mahomes finding him. And the Chargers did absolutely nothing to change over the course of an entire half. Kelce had 10 catches for like 140 yards in the first half because Brandon Staley, a defensive coach, is terrible at defense. The Chargers are an incredibly frustrating team because you look at the talent and you think, man, this is a really good team. But they're like all these moving parts that have no idea what the other ones are doing. And it's just a madness amalgamation of crap that you watch when it comes out on the field. But having said that, they're better than the Raiders, and the Bears, spanked the Raiders. They're not going to do that against the Chargers. Obviously, they're back in LA. The Chargers have talent. I mean, Badgett's going to have another entire week of taking first team snaps. Tyson Badgett is 1-0 as an NFL starting quarterback. Justin Herbert is now below 500 as an NFL starting quarterback. He is 27-28. But no, I so badly want to take the Bears to cover the spread because it's a pretty hefty spread. And I, like you said, Tommy, Dante Foreman is going to run the ball pretty well against the Chargers because they can't stop the run at all. And apparently when Patrick Mahomes is playing, they can't stop the pass either. Man, I like you. I don't think I wouldn't bet this game, but I would not be surprised if the Bears were able to cover.
Both of these teams are 2-win teams, but I think that the record is doing different things for each of them. I think that LA is a better team than what their record is, and I think that Chicago is a worse team than what their record shows. I think the Bears play good, but only against really bottom of the barrel teams. And then also on Thursday night against Washington. But I'm still on the train, but are they that great of a team? No, not really. So I mean, I think LA has the tools to win, but they haven't been blowing anyone out this season. I think it's hard to really see this as a 2-possession game. God, yeah, I'm with you guys. It's hard to bet. I lean on the LAC side of it, but yeah, for a team that has yet to find a two possession win this year, this is it's a hard ask.
If you need to get that, Tommy, you're welcome to answer your phone.
I will not do so.
Well, that's because you've got a much more exciting game. Well, maybe not an exciting game, but a much better team to talk about next. The Baltimore Ravens, they might be the best team in the NFL right now.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I usually watch Red Zone split screen. I watch a lot of games at once because I'm trying to give you guys the best picks these weeks. I had to watch replays for my other games because the one that I had on by itself was the Ravens and Lions game. Because to me, that was one of the games of the week,
It
and
was.
I was, as much as the score was horrendous and it was nothing of what we expected, that we thought it would be a dogfight, regardless of whether I was taken aback by the score difference. It was still an incredible game to me to watch. I was dumbfounded by the offensive play calling. Everything was working everything was working together. The receivers were catching their passes. We were running the ball well over in Baltimore. It looks good on offense, and that's something. And you know what it is? It looks consistent on offense, and that's one of the biggest problems with the Ravens: consistency. The last couple of years, it's been, we'll have a great first quarter, bad second quarter, great third quarter, mediocre fourth quarter. We'll scrape out a win. Close games against teams they shouldn't be in close games with, like when Justin Tucker had to set the field goal record against the Lions, who at that was their first loss of the season. They ended up going and what? And a lot. They obviously picked it up at the end of the season, but at that point they weren't a very good team. The Ravens now, they look like the team we wanted them to be. Lamar Jackson is a pocket passer. Who ever thought that Lamar Jackson would be considered an elite pocket presence? He played like an MVP. Not an MVP candidate, an MVP against the Lions, which is something very difficult to do. I am on the Ravens hype train. Obviously, the Cardinals were still figuring out what's going on with Kyler Murray. He's back at practice, but Josh Dobbs is still in there. Josh Dobbs is I can say he's doing okay, but he's not doing his job. He's playing okay in the games, but his job is to pick up some wins, and he's not doing that. Stats don't mean everything. They're empty. And the Ravens are just a powerhouse of an offensive team. I didn't even talk about their defense. They shut down quite possibly the best offense in the NFL right now. They let up one touchdown to Jahmyr Gibbs in the fourth quarter, which I had him on fantasy, so I wasn't really complaining. But I think this Ravens team is something special. And I'm very glad now that I picked Lamar Jackson as my MVP candidate at the beginning of the season, because hopefully we can keep this up and I can look really smart at the end. But Baltimore -8.5, send it.
It's funny. Earlier today, I went back and looked back at our MVP picks and remembered that you had picked Lamar. And man, what did he had? 345 yards passing, had 4 total touchdowns. The Ravens had 5 touchdown drives. They had 10 possessions in the game, 5 touchdown drives that averaged 82 yards. These were not getting short fields. They were marching the entire length of the field. And in those 10 possessions and 5 long touchdown drives, they made it to third down only 8 times in the entire game. They were picking up first downs on first down, on second down. They were rarely getting to third down. They were just so efficient on offense. And like you said, that defense is number 2 in total DVOA. They're the best scoring defense in the NFL right now. And man, they look great. They look all around great. They are clearly now the favorites to win what is turning out to be the most competitive division in football. The Bengals are at 500, but then the other 3 teams are all over 500. Well, you got the Ravens at 5-2, and then the Steelers and Browns both at 4-2. Great division. The Ravens, though, the class of that division right now, The Chiefs are the number 1 seed in the AFC at the moment, but man, the Ravens look great. And I'm teasing this game up to like 10.5, 11 points. I mean, I think the Ravens are gonna. I know it's in Arizona, but I don't care. The Ravens are gonna crush them.
I think for me, it was really shocking to watch the game. I felt like the Lions left a lot at home. I felt like that the full team, the full oomph wasn't really there. Kind of disappointed me a little bit as someone who had been preaching for the snoil the week before. I think that the Ravens probably man, that was such a breakout game. I think it's hard to live up to those highs. I think they take a step back, but I don't think that really matters when you play against the Arizona Cardinals right now. Just love Dobbs as a dude, but dang, this team is hard to watch, and that's coming from a Broncos fan, okay? I'm telling you, I like the Ravens in this one. I'm with you, Kyle. I'm probably gonna buy me a point or two. Yeah, I think that the Ravens are looking like such a great team right now. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, one last stat from that Ravens Lions game. The Ravens had 16 first downs before the Lions got their first. I mean, that is total domination. All right, Tommy. This game, it's an interesting game because we now have maybe a quarterback change for the 49ers.
It's looking like that's the case. It's actually looking like it's almost 100% certain to be the case that Sam Darnold will be starting at quarterback for the 49ers. And this is really just a game of injuries. The Bengals are not very healthy. The offensive line is pretty banged up. Receivers are kind of banged up. But my biggest issue here is the Niners injury report. I mean, these are guys that did not practice at all today for injuries, not for rest. I know it's Wednesday, but this is still very important. Deebo Samuel, Dre Greenlaw, Brock Purdy, and Trent Williams. 4 of the best players on this team. Dre Greenlaw is the heart and soul of that defense. He is an old school, rough him up, hit hard linebacker with a little bit of swagger. Deebo Samuel is the best offensive. I can't say best offensive player. He's an incredible offensive skill player in any regard. Receiving, running.
Maybe he's the most versatile offensive player.
Sure, most versatile offensive player on the team. He can do just about anything on that offense, including blocking. And then Brock Purdy on concussion protocol is just a killer. I'm very happy that this quarterback room is full of guys that can step up to the plate. We got Sam Darnold next up. He's been in quite a few football games, and he's won a couple of football games. Hopefully, I mean, we saw with Brock and Jimmy Garoppolo, they got to, in practice, they were throwing against the best defense in the league last year. And this year, hopefully we get to see the same from Sam Darnold. He hasn't really been in great systems. He's been in pretty terrible systems, to be honest with you. And the defenses he played with weren't all that special for Carolina or for New York. Hopefully this gives us a little bit of an edge, gives Sam Darnold a little bit of an edge when it comes to running the offense against a not a very good defensive back group in the Bengals. That's their weakest point next to their offensive line. And I think that maybe he could make something happen. But at the end of the day, when you got 4 of your best players, you have the best offensive tackle in the NFL. You have a guy at quarterback who, he was inconsistent for the last 2 weeks, but the first half of the season, he was proving himself to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. He was plus 600 for the MVP. He was really close on that. And then, Dre Greenlaw, Deebo, it's too much. And plugging Sam Darnold in there isn't going to help. Sam Darnold versus Joe Burrow. I'm picking Joe Burrow any day.
Well, I think that one of the things that helps Sam Darnold is typically when you're a backup quarterback, you are the backup quarterback throughout all of camp. And so you don't get a lot of work with the first team. But because Purdy was coming back from his injury, Darnold was getting a lot of work in training camp that most backup quarterbacks weren't getting. As you said, he's also a veteran. He's been around for a few years. He's been now in a third system. Kyle Shanahan's system is very good for quarterbacks to be in. I think this offense is going to be okay. Now, from what I was reading, we pretty much know that Debo is going to be gone. Trent Williams may be back, and obviously that would be a big deal if he could be. McCaffrey scored another touchdown. He's got touchdowns now in 16 straight games. That is a new NFL record for touchdowns from scrimmage. 2 more, and he will set the all-time streak of touchdowns. So there's a lot to still like about this 49ers team. The Bengals are coming off the bye, and Tommy, I know that you are a big bye guy.
Huge bye guy.
But T. Higgins does still have that cracked ribs, and he's in a contract year, and he's having a terrible year. This is not good for T. Higgins. I don't know. I still believe that this 49ers team is much closer to the team that we saw, just kicking ass and taking names to begin the season than this team that struggled. And the Bengals are on the road. 49ers want to make a statement. I bet Sam Darnold's playing for a possible starting gig in 2024. The spread has come down to 3.5 because of the news about Purdy being out. And at 3.5, if you can find 3.5 out there, I'm taking the 49ers, I think. If it was 5.5, then yeah, maybe the Bengals. But I think if you can find 3.5, I'm going to San Francisco.
I agree with what Kyle's saying here. I think Sam Darnold is a fine quarterback. I don't think he's great. I don't think that he should have ever been the 3rd overall pick by any means. But he was drafted there for a reason, and it's because he can manage a system when he doesn't need to be doing everything. I'm not going to fault him for not doing great with the Jets or the Panthers, because who's doing great with the Jets or the Panthers? You know what I mean? This Shanahan system isn't requiring him to do much of the heavy lifting. It requires Christian to do it, and Christian can, all right? Like, Sam Darnold just needs to know how to put the thing in the drive and just hold it steady. And I think that he can do that for the San Francisco offense. Cincinnati is competing. Like we were just talking about how competitive the AFC North is. I think this could be close, but I'm even at the 5.5 point spread. I think I'm going to take San Francisco here. I just think that I think Sam Darnold can get it done. I believe.
You believe? I believe.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Tommy. We appreciate you and your efforts. We are now going to move Ben over to the big window. And Ben, you are going to start with an NFC North battle that it's going to be a pretty tight game, it looks like, based on the point spread.
Well, apparently Vegas didn't see the same Minnesota Vikings team that I saw last week, because, gosh darn, Minnesota looked good against San Francisco. They looked like dogs. I didn't even know. I was looking at it. I was like, are we sure this isn't Sunday afternoon? Because Kirk Cousins is kind of playing outside of his mind right now. This is insane. I couldn't believe it. It was Monday night, and the dude was slinging it like he didn't have a care in the world. I have been on this show the past few weeks just preaching about how Minnesota is going through an implosion, and I think they heard me and they took it personally because they just showed up and showed out. I'm all about this Minnesota Vikings team, especially rolling into a Green Bay team that just lost to the Denver Donkeys. Can't feel great. Don't know what it feels like, but I imagine it's got to suck. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings here to win and to cover a point.
Well, not only did Vegas not see the Vikings, they didn't see the Packers. I mean, this was Jordan Love was like the first 2 games were like, oh man, he is absolutely the heir apparent to the Packers quarterback legacy. And he's just gone into a hole. This whole Packers team has gone into a hole. The Broncos were one of those 1-win teams to get their second win because the Green Bay Packers were terrible. It was a close game, but man, I'm here in Denver. I was watching that game alongside the Chiefs game, and it was not good. They did not look good. And I ran into a number of Packers fans later in the day, and not one of them were happy about this team. Now we're back at Lambeau Field. Yes, okay, it's Lambeau Field, but this is not a good Green Bay Packers team. The Vikings are starting to put things together. I think that, I mean, if the Vikings were 4-point favorites in this, I think I'm still taking Minnesota. So I'm taking Minnesota certainly at one point.
I'm absolutely with you on that. I mean, yeah, this Vikings team has stepped it up for 2 weeks in a row. And as I said at the beginning of the show, I think we've been taking the Vikings a little bit for granted. Yeah, they sucked to start the season, but we all know things change. We get to the midseason mark, things happen. What happened to the Lions last year? I mean, they came back and were an incredible team. I hope to see more of that. I love the Vikings -1.
Well, and I think the other thing is too, these teams are looking like what we expected them to look like prior to the season start. This isn't just randomly, oh, Minnesota is good. We were expecting this. We were waiting for this to happen. This is just kind of confirming what we had expected. Maybe it took a little bit longer for these teams to get there, but I think eventually once you get a large enough sample size, I think the truth starts to show. I think that's how the teams line up right now.
Yeah, I just saw a thing today. Kirk Cousins is the fastest quarterback to 5,300 games, 300-yard games in his career. A lot of people, we give Kirk Cousins a lot of grief about how he does in prime time. This guy's a good quarterback. He's been a good quarterback for a lot of years. And if you don't like Kirk Cousins, go watch the Netflix series Quarterback. They're not an endorser of our podcast. Although, hey, Netflix, reach out. We'll happily create a relationship. But no, seriously, Kirk Cousins is a good dude. He seems like my kind of guy. He's just a Midwesterner who just happens to be a better quarterback than me by probably a significant margin. We have never compared each other to one another, but he's a good quarterback. This team's not a bad team. This team, I mean, there's a reason, yes, they won a lot of 1-score games last year, and that's not sustainable, but they still won 13 games. That's a lot of games to win. And Justin Jefferson, have you seen their schedule going forward? The only winning team they play before the middle of December is the Atlanta Falcons. And is there a weaker winning team in football than Atlanta? So the schedule is just laid out for Minnesota. They don't play the Lions until week 16 and week 18. Justin Jefferson will be back by then. Look, I think we all three still think the Lions are the division champion in the NFC North, but the Vikings can make things interesting, and it could come down to a week 18 game. So stay tuned, because this is the NFL. It's the greatest reality TV show on earth, and right now anything can still happen in that NFC North. All right, moving on. We've got the AFC South leaders against the suddenly plucky Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh my goodness, this one pains me because you guys know how much I love the Jacksonville Jaguars. I am all Duval and teal, okay? But goodness, this Pittsburgh Steelers defense, man. I saw the black and yellow and I thought I was watching the Iowa Hawkeyes. Just a great defense in such a shitty offense, okay? I'm just not a fan of this Steelers offense, but this defense just will this team to wins. And I think that they will easily find at least 7 points on the defensive side against a young, still learning Trevor Lawrence. I think that this matchup is prime for Lawrence to just have a bad day and the Steelers defense to look amazing. I don't think that this is going to really derail the Jags season by any means. I just think that when you look at the matchup, it just isn't great for them. I'm a firm believer in general, but especially with this Steelers team, that if you can find a way to score on the defensive side of the ball, you're almost guaranteed to win. Pittsburgh's been really showing that they have tons of scores from their defense. Uh, I like the Steelers to not just cover 2.5. I like them to win.
Well, you know how I love me some DVOA stats. Pittsburgh Steelers, 26th in offensive DVOA. They are 8th in defensive DVOA. I still want to believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars, that are 5-2 and playing good football, are going to win this game. They've got so many really good players on offense. Got Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne, and obviously Trevor Lawrence is the one who's pulling the triggers. And what's happened was we've really seen this defense come around. Josh Allen is having a monster year at defensive end. He's really come alive. He's got 7 sacks. We're even seeing a little noise from Trayvon Walker, who was the top pick from a year ago. So I think that there is a lot to like about the Jaguars on both sides of the football. There's a lot to love about the Steelers on defense. TJ Watt is having a defensive player of the year start to the season. There's no question about it. And as a George Pickens fantasy owner, I really want this offense to do something. They just frustrate me at times. They didn't look terrible against the Rams, I will have to say, but Jaguars are a better team. I think the Jaguars are deserved favorites in this, and I do think the Jaguars can win by a field goal and cover the spread. But the Steelers have already won a couple of games this year that I was convinced they were going to lose. So I am being cautious because my own personal history this year says that I'm doubting the Steelers more than I should. So maybe you should not follow my lead and doubt the Steelers, because right now TJ Watt is a one-man wrecking crew.
See, I'm conflicted here because it's not – I guess there's a part of me that likes to doubt the Steelers. I just don't like the Steelers. But it's just years of slightly above mediocrity and never going anywhere with it. So many winning records and one Super Bowl. It irks me. It irks me. But I have to respect, at least to a bit of an extent, how well they're playing on defense from all levels. I mean, we're talking about TJ Watt. You watch a Steelers game, every defensive possession, you find number 39, Minkah Fitzpatrick, making a play. That dude is balling. He reminds me of a Cam Chancellor right now. The way he's hitting, he throws his body into the mix with aggression, and that's what the Steelers team is. I mean, it's what we've seen for decades. It's the same shit. I love the Steelers defense. I despise their offense. That's why I want to doubt them. I think Kenny Pickett is still mediocre at best. Najee Harris is not a starting running back in this NFL. Jaylen Warren should be getting the majority of snaps because he can not only get to the line and hit somebody at the point of attack, but he can also run out and catch a pass which Najee Harris runs a slower 40-yard dash than the entire offensive line. So I'm really I have to go with Jacksonville -2.5, and I respect the Steelers. That's the thing. I don't like them, but I respect them. Regardless of my level of respect, I do believe the Jaguars are a better team, and their offense is just gonna find holes and make plays. And I mean, I gotta pick the -2.5, but I might not even put money on this game if I was a viewer. Second time I said that today. I'm done saying that, I promise.
I definitely think this is one of the hardest matches the Jags have had this whole season. You know, outside of that Chiefs game, this is going to be their hardest test. You look at who they're winning against. They have wins over Indy twice, the Falcons, and the Bills. The Bills win was in London, where they had that extra week. I think that's in the States. I don't think they win that game. The Saints, obviously. This is their hardest game. It's going to be a great matchup. I'm excited for this one either way.
Do you guys remember what the Dolphins got in return for trading Minka Fitzpatrick, because I think about that trade as a really kind of a franchise-altering trade for the Dolphins. If they had kept him, their defense would be so much better. I maybe they got something great. I think it was draft picks, and I can't offhead think of who they drafted.
I don't know who they drafted with them.
I'm going to go look that up so that for next week we can talk about that, because you don't typically see guys as great as Minka Fitzpatrick get traded so early in their careers, and I feel like that the Steelers got a deal on that. It doesn't matter really who they sent to Miami; they got a deal because, like you said, Tommy, he is a stud, and he does a little bit of everything really well. All right, the 4-3 Atlanta Falcons versus the now fire sale is on Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. Listen, I'm a be honest with you. These teams are hard to watch. These are the games where I go, how much do I love football? And let me tell you, fans, just for you listeners, I love football because I'm watching them, not happily, but I am watching them. Listen, I expected Tampa to win against Atlanta last week. Atlanta, the stash of Arthur Smith, somehow pulled through. Maybe I don't know. I just haven't felt like in the year and a half that we've done this podcast that I've ever gotten a good read on this Atlanta team. Every time that I think that they're starting to hit their stride, they start to suck. And every time I'm like, hey, this is it, they start finding a win every now and then. They hashtag rise up. This week, I don't know. I think Tennessee's just a bad team. I'm going to bet against Tennessee. This is more of going against the Titans than it is having faith in Atlanta. I'm gonna take Atlanta by 2.5 here. I don't know if I'm going to bet on it, not because of how I'm feeling about it, just because I don't know if I want to have to keep track of this game as it gets played out. But I'm going to roll with the Atlanta Falcons 2.5 here.
Yeah, I think Arthur Smith is like an old-time cartoon villain where it's like, oh, the NFL's ratings are up. We'll see about that. I mean, it's like, I'm only going to give Bijan Robinson one touch because everybody seems to like him. Desmond Ridder can't hold on to the football. He's going to fumble it 3 times inside the 10-yard line, including twice at the 1. Well, he's going to continue to be my quarterback. I mean, Arthur Smith is a football terrorist trying to destroy this game. Get him off. Get him out of there. What is he doing? The Falcons should never have beaten the Buccaneers last week. I mean, literally, they fumbled the ball twice at the 1-yard line and lost those fumbles. But the Titans have already traded Kevin Byard. But before the game is played this weekend, Derrick Henry might be on the move. We know that Ryan Tannehill is out. So they're not committing to either. It's either going to be Malik Willis or Will Levis. Please, you drafted Will Levis. Let's see what he's got. Let's see this guy. Give him a start. Give him his NFL debut. I want to see him throw an NFL pass. I'm sure it's not going to be great, but I still want to see it. I don't know, man. This game is it's the two bottom feeding fish in the pond just throwing haymakers at each other while the rest of the fish up are top going, well, what the hell's going on down there? Why do they think that matters? I mean, the Falcons, they have a winning record, so I guess they're a playoff team potentially. I don't know. I'm going to go with the Falcons on this game because I think that they do have better players, and the Titans seem to have given up on the season. But man, Arthur Smith, everybody loves Bijan Robinson. Oh, well, he was not feeling well. Well, then why is he playing? Why is he in as a decoy? Give him the ball. If he's going to be on the field, give him a ball. Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's all I want. That's all I want to talk about this game because it's going to annoy me. I know that on Sunday I'm going to be annoyed to no end.
Oh, you're going to be more annoyed because I think I saw a report I think it was from Jordan Schultz. I'm not 100% certain, but there is reports coming out that the Titans are going to evenly split snaps between Malik Willis and Will Levis.
Does Mike Vrabel think he's coaching college football, like Division III college football?
See,
Come on.
It's the spring game. It's the spring game, everybody.
This is not Tom Brady and Drew Henson. This is thing 1 and thing 2. This is a goddamn joke. I'm sorry. Coach of the year, who? This is ridiculous. But that's besides the point. I would love to see. So I don't know if you guys are on NFL like Instagram. They might have posted it on Twitter too, but Twitter/X. I didn't even notice you were doing that. But you always see the clips of the Falcons and their roof camera. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but the roof camera following Bijan and Kyle Pitts catching the ball behind him.
No, they're cool. They're cool views.
I would love to see the roof cam footage of Desmond Ridder fumbling the ball on the goal line twice. That would be really funny. But besides the point, I think that the Titans, especially if they're splitting snaps, and this is under the impression that they do, how is a quarterback going to get momentum if they're getting taken out of the game every quarter or at halftime? How are they going to build up the momentum? You put in a cold quarterback who hasn't played the entire game in the second half or the second quarter. I mean, come on. This is realistically, this is amateur coaching. Amateur. And I expect more from Mike Vrabel because that guy is supposed to be one of the consistent stand-up, rock solid coaches in the NFL. He's been around the Titans organization for a minute. A lot of people are coming and going, but he's held strong, coach of the year, beat the Patriots in the playoffs with Tom Brady. But come on, man. Like, this is me pleading to Mike. What are we doing?
Maybe Vrabel sees like the end of his time in Tennessee coming. I mean, the GM got blown out last year. They got a new stadium coming in. Maybe he feels like they're just going to clean house, and so he's just going to go hog wild. I mean, but this is the guy who actually said that he would give up one of his testicles to win the Super Bowl. And we never found out what he'd give up to win a second Super Bowl. Hopefully, it's not the other one. But boy, that is if that happens, there may be a Mike Vrabel. We may have a game next week about coaches who decided to split snaps with their quarterbacks and how those games ended up finishing.
The saddest part is the last thing I'm going to say about this game, because it's a waste of my breath, is that the Titans are one of the most boring football teams to watch as a fan in the NFL. There's no variety. There's 12 plays in their playbook that are their bread and butter. It's disappointing to see because they have all this talent. They're going to throw it all away. They're going to get draft picks. They're going to rebuild. But God damn it, you want to see them play well. They got guys on their teams that you want to root for. It's just a shame. The Falcons, they're no better, but they got a little more talent, a little more spunk, a little better play calling. So I guess I gotta pick the Falcons -2.5.
Yeah, I mean, the Titans were in the AFC Championship game 3 years ago, and now they are this. So sad. All right, AFC East, which is no longer the runaway that we thought it was going to be. The Dolphins were going to do it. The Bills were going to do it. Well, maybe neither one of them is going to do it. What do we think here? The Patriots at the Dolphins. Ben, you are on mute, buddy.
Hello?
There we go.
Oh, okay, perfect. I was saying
we don't want you to be silent when talking about the New England Patriots.
Hey, you're right. Also, hey, one last thing about Tennessee, though. Shout out to them for bringing back the Oiler uniforms. Good for them. Okay.
Oh, that's
moving on to this New England Patriots team that just took down the Buffalo Bills. Let me tell you what, that game tells you more about Buffalo than it does New England, because Buffalo is past their prime. But that we're not talking about them. We're talking about New England. That's not a win that makes me believe that you have this consistent success. Buffalo has consistently had struggles against New England. That's a thing in the division history. In the division history, who notoriously just has the ownage of the New England Patriots? It's the Miami Dolphins. somehow, some way, Bill Belichick just doesn't do well in that Miami Heat, okay? He just can't handle that Florida sun. Uh, I think that Mike McDaniel has everything figured out down there right now. This Fins team looks absolutely fun. They got Hard Knocks coming in for the full season thing. It's going to be fun to watch, dude. It's going to be fun. I think that Miami still has complete and utter domination over this Patriots team. I like them to win by 10 or more. I still think that they are plenty dynamic, and I'm really not sold on New England at all as a ball club.
Yeah, I was reading some Bills excuses about why they laid an egg against the Patriots. And well, we lost our best defensive player, Matt Milano. We lost our best cornerback in Tre'Davious White. And I'm thinking, hello, the Patriots lost their best defensive player in Matthew Judon. They lost their best defensive back in Christian Gonzalez, and they went out and kicked your ass. So stop with the whole "we lost these two guys on defense" thing. Your defenses should be your offense should be fine, right? Buffalo, and the Patriots kicked your ass. This is, though, a different animal in the Miami Dolphins. Although what we did see from the Dolphins against the Phillies are the limit. I'm thinking of baseball. The Eagles is that if you get pressure on Tua, that there is a chance that you can disrupt the whole timing of that offense and you can hold them in check. I mean, they did not get to 20 points against the Eagles, but the Patriots are like the third worst team at getting at the quarterback this year. The Eagles, we know how good the Eagles are. So there's very little chance that New England can replicate what Philadelphia did in terms of owning that line of scrimmage. I think that the Dolphins are going to be fine. Now, we did see today, we're recording this on Wednesday, there was some chatter about Tyreek Hill. Now, he's not officially on the injury report. By the time you see this, he will be. And Tua intimated that he wouldn't be around. And then Jalen Waddle was like, he'll be back at some point. Nobody really knows what that means. He hurt his shoulder in the game against the Eagles. He came back into the game, but we see that a lot where guys come back into the game and then afterwards they get reevaluated and they're going to be gone. So it's possible they're without Tyreek Hill, but they still have got Jalen Waddle. They still got Raheem Mostert. They're facing a New England Patriots team that doesn't have much at all. I am not excited that Mac Jones won a game. Mac Jones is still not worthy of being an NFL starting quarterback. 9.5 is a big spread, but they're in South Florida. And as Ben pointed out, even when the Dolphins were by far the inferior team, they always played the Patriots tough. I wish I had the video right now of that final kickoff touchdown where Gronk is laying out and trying to.
Oh, don't do that. I was going to use that reference.
Make the tackle. I'm sorry, Tommy. I should have left that to you. But yeah, Gronk just spread eagle at the goal line, missing the tackle, and the Dolphins scoring the touchdown to win the game. So if I wanted to bet this game, I'm going to go the Dolphins to cover the spread. Although, could it be a 7 or 8 point game because Miami's not at full strength? Yeah, that's possible. So beware when you place your bets. Read about the Tyreek Hill situation. Make sure that everybody else is good. Obviously, they still got plenty of weapons. The Patriots still have plenty of reason to think that they're terrible.
Yeah. Well, I was going to do a whole bit about scaring Patriots fans and going, ooh, Kenyon Drake. Ooh, Gronk at safety.
We should have done that in pre-show meeting. We could have ironed that out. That's my fault. That's my fault.
Oh, we're all good, Kyle. Don't worry about it because the point still stands. Miami roughs it out against the Patriots, and this we look back at the terrible Miami Dolphins beating a Super Bowl winning Patriots team, and now let's turn the tables a little bit. Let's take a look at this year's organizations we got going on. The Dolphins, who are Super Bowl contenders, and the Patriots, who are one of the worst teams in the NFL. Let's do some deciphering. So, a little more math. I guess I'm doing a lot of math these last couple of weeks. So,
well, you're the one in college. The rest of us are not. So, better you than us.
I guess so. Got all my math credits. Don't worry about that. Dolphins always fight the Patriots well, right? They always fight tough, fight well. The Dolphins are better than the Patriots. The Dolphins are playing at home. These three things seem very important to me. And these three things are going to lock in a 2-touchdown win against the Patriots in Miami.
Ooh. All right. Mr. Burch coming strong on the Miami Dolphins. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
How's that going to sit? I mean, if you remember back at the beginning of the show, everybody, I introduced Tommy Burch from, he is in Springfield, Massachusetts. So perhaps some of the people that you are familiar with there might not be thrilled with your pick, but hey.
I think they're going to be less thrilled with the final score of this game. So I think I'm going to be all right.
They'll be so down on the Patriots that they won't even remember you.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well,
I'm just some guy that makes good picks on football games.
You do make good picks. You make right now, this season. You're making way better picks than the two of us. But speaking of Ben's last picks, this is an interesting one here on the his final game of the day. Broncos 16 straight losses to the Kansas City Chiefs. He's got the Broncos covering that 8-point spread.
Listen, it was 11 points last time. 2 weeks ago. It wasn't that long ago. It was 11 points. It was an Arrowhead. It was an Arrowhead. That's enemy territory. It's going to be shaking. They're going to be stomping their feet. You know when the camera starts going, dude, it's going to be a great atmosphere. And surely Russell Wilson and the Broncos offense finds the end zone before the fourth quarter, or at least a field goal, right? Right? Come on, guys. You got to help me out here. Because if not, I don't know if I can continue being a fan this season. I need the Broncos to stay close here. Listen. We're going.
Poor soul.
They got the bye week coming up. Okay, what a way to enter the bye than by beating the Chiefs. This is it. This is what dreams and storylines are made of right here. Do I think the Broncos are going to win? Hell no. But I do note that the Chiefs have already proven that they don't care necessarily about finding the end zone against this Broncos team, because they know that the Broncos won't be keeping up with them on offense. They're fine kicking field goals all day, especially in Denver with the extra few yards that you get with the thin air, the elevation. I think that the Broncos offense, they find a field goal here or there. I think Chiefs they win it handily, and you never really feel like the Chiefs are in danger. But I think the Broncos can keep it within 8. Seems doable, right?
So you talked about the atmosphere and the fan stomping and all that. So last week the Broncos won the game, and there were about 30,000 fans who had left the stadium in the third quarter. They were winning that game, and they all bailed. As your attire tonight attests, here in Denver, we have turned the page. It is Nugget season, baby. The Denver Nuggets are looking for their back-to-back NBA championships. No one has time for football in this city anymore. It is all basketball and hockey. And the Colorado Mammoth of the lacrosse league. We don't care about the Denver Broncos.
NLL, baby.
Stop.
So,
Kyle.
I'm actually going to be at this game on Sunday because, I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
I bet you got that ticket for cheap too. You probably paid like $20 for it.
They're just trying to unload it. They're trying to unload tickets at this point because they've moved on. They want to lose games. They want to lose games. They want to get a Caleb Williams or a Drake May. Look, the Broncos did each of the 2 games last year were within 8 points. So could the Broncos cover the spread? Absolutely. They covered this 8-point spread twice last year, and the year before that they covered it another time. So yeah, it's a division game. Games can be close, but yeah, if I was to place money on this game, if I had to place money on this game, I'd probably pick the Broncos to cover.
Yeah.
But
God
not because
damn
of
it,
this
Kyle.
crazy crowd that's stamping their feet in Mile High Stadium.
They'll
That's not
care.
why.
They'll care, Kyle. You better watch
Because
your back. You better watch.
The Chiefs are going to Germany the next week. They're going to be in Frankfurt in a week playing the Dolphins. They don't care about this game. Just get the W. We've got a bigger fish to fry in Germany next week. That's what's happening.
We're gonna reset the streak. Don't worry. We'll reset the streak.
Oh, hey, by the way, a fun fact. The Denver Broncos have won the Super Bowl more recently than they have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow.
That is a fun fact.
That's crazy.
We won the Super Bowl more recently than San Francisco. Sorry, Tommy. I don't know why you're catching strays all of a sudden, but I need.
Great.
I didn't do anything. I picked your team last week. You didn't believe in them. I picked them, and that hit. And this is what you do to me.
Wow.
I've suffered enough.
Wow.
Oh wait, speaking of me not having any faith in my team, Kyle, bring up the prop.
There it is, baby.
I'm taking Russell Wilson to throw an interception at -130. If I could find it for 2 interceptions, I would. This is a joke of a podcast at this point. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know what I'm doing. I have solely the name of NFL points, picks, and props. Take me out of the big box, Kyle. Take me out.
You may have to get a suspension like Kareem Jackson. He got it reduced to 2 games though, so we won't give you the full 4.
Oh my gosh.
Can I give my piece real quick on this because I got one thing to say.
Yes,
just
you
regarding the game.
you can say your piece.
My one thing about divisional rivalries is that I think that, at least for the most part, not necessarily always with the Chiefs and Broncos, but if 2 teams play in the same season, the outcomes of the games, although the winner might be similar, the way that they won tends to be very different. Because especially for both of these teams, they didn't score a lot of points this past game. It was more of a defensive battle. The quarterback rooms on both ends weren't playing tremendously, but their game plan coming into this is we played this team 2 weeks ago. We couldn't strike on offense, so we're going to be offensive heavy this week, offensively focused. I could say the exact same thing for the Chiefs. Hey, we put up less than 20 points against this team. We really need to get on the scoreboard. We're going to air it out a little bit more, make them play with us, keep the tempo of the game quick, and spread the game out a little more, right? That's how it always goes. You game plan, especially if you're playing the same team twice in the same year, in the same season, you have to game plan and if you have a whole game of film with your own team, it's just the perfect way to do it. I think that this game is going to be significantly higher scoring than 2 weeks ago. It might just be from the Chiefs, or it could be from both teams. But because of the more points scored, I do think that the Chiefs are going to cover. I think that it's going to be very close. I think it'll be a 9-point game, 10-point game at the end. But I'm only picking that 8 because I think this game is going to end up being in 30s and 20s range for a scoreboard. Your prop, beautiful. Love it. I don't have any faith in him either. Don't worry.
Yeah, Tommy, you bring up a really good point. If you go back to that first game, which was just a couple weeks ago now, and I think because of the nearness of the 2 games, you saw both teams, but it certainly watched the game again and watched the Chiefs offense. Andy Reid kept a lot in the pocket. He was not throwing it all out there because he's got to play this team again in 2 weeks. If you watch the Chiefs, they were very vanilla except for when they did some things that were really bizarre. And I think it was almost like we're trying some things out just to make them think about things in 2 weeks. Let's do this so that the Broncos will have to prepare for this in 2 weeks, even though we have no designs on doing anything like that. Andy Reid's a very good coach, and there's no question that he is always thinking weeks ahead as he's calling a game. And I think that was what was happening in that first game. So like you said, I do think that the offenses are going to be far more open this week because now they're not playing each other again for another year. So they can lay it all out there. I think because, again, they were playing twice in the same month that things get a little tight in what they're going to show. So it'll be really interesting to watch what happens on Sunday. And I look forward to being there. All right. Thank you, Ben. Those are your 5 games. I now have my 5 games, and we're going to start with the Josh McDaniels Las Vegas Raiders. They are at the Detroit Lions. And so the Lions looked bad last week. There is no question that the Lions on that flight home from Baltimore were pretty pissed off at themselves. And boy, could you pick a better, if you're gonna lay a giant fat egg, who would you want to be your next opponent? It's got to be the Las Vegas Raiders. It's got to be Josh McDaniels. How perfect for the Detroit Lions that they get this schlub of a team coming to their building where they get to just take out all of their frustrations and say, hey, we're still the best team here. Don't forget about us. I think the Lions crush the Raiders because the Raiders are hot garbage. The Lions are good. And I've got a prop on this game. I am going to take the Lions at 13.5 minus. So the spread is -8. I'm bumping that up to minus 13.5. I am going over 5.5 total touchdowns. And that's total for the game. So let's say the Lions get 5 touchdowns. The Raiders get 1. I hit my bet, and that's paying me 340 plus 340. That is because look, the Lions are going to win this game by 2 touchdowns. I think they're going to win this game by 3 touchdowns, but they're certainly going to win by 2 touchdowns. So I'm going to take that spread up to 13.5, and I'm going to add these total touchdowns to it. And I am going to be counting my cash at the end of the night because there is no way that the Lions can't cover a paltry 8-point spread against a hot garbage team led by a hot garbage coach when they are still one of the best offenses in football. Yes, they've had some injuries, but that's neither here nor there when they're playing against a team. They are so much better than. Who knows who's going to start for the Raiders? Raiders had an opportunity to give their rookie Aiden some reps against the Bears. They decided to play Brian Hoyer because, definitely make sure Brian Hoyer gets some development because he's your quarterback of the future. Well done, Josh. I mean, come on. They're the worst led organization in all of football, and the Lions are going to make a mockery of them at Ford Field in front of some very hungry Lions fans who want to see a win after last week. So yeah, I'm all Lions all the time this week.
This to me feels like when the Longhorns play like Texas State at the beginning of the season. You know what they call this? They call this a cupcake game. That's what this is. Maybe Dan Campbell is paying the Raiders a fat check to play this game. But I think that the only thing the Raiders are going to be receiving is a boatload of unhappiness and a big fat L. The Raiders, I think the Raiders as a team, just talent-wise, how they play on all spectrums, I think they're okay, right? I think they're okay. Obviously, worst-led organization in the league. I think as talent-wise, defensively, play calling, they're mediocre. And that's one thing the Lions are not. The Lions are, it's one game against one of, if not the best team in the NFL right now, the Ravens. Yeah, you lost a crazy game, but it's the Raiders, man. It would be such a Raiders moment to lose this game by 20. And I would be all for it. Go Lions!
Ben, not to interrupt, but yeah, I mean, like what Tommy just said there, you've got a top 5 wide receiver in Devontae Adams. You've got a top 3 pass rusher in Max Crosby. There are good teams in the NFL that would kill to have players that good. And for whatever reason, we've got these great players stuck on this garbage team. And it's so frustrating because, man, Max Crosby should be making sacks in the Super Bowl. Devontae Adams should be catching passes from the best quarterbacks in the NFL and having huge playoff games. And instead, they're stuck on these 2 garbage teams. And that is this garbage team. And that's so frustrating that you've got great players like this stuck on this team. I'm sorry, Ben, please. On to you.
I have no sympathy for Devontae Adams. Didn't he want
Fair
to
enough.
go catch from Derek Carr? Listen, he could have caught for any quarterback in this league, and he chose Derek Carr in Las Vegas. He knew what he was signing up for. He can suck it up, if you ask me. Like, why would you willingly put on that logo and that uniform? Okay, that's on
Fair.
you.
Fair.
Max Crosby, he's got some loyalty. I kind of like that. That he's just unfortunate. I will say that. Listen, this Raiders team is just absolutely horrible. And like you were saying at the beginning when you were introducing this game, I completely agree with you. If you're looking for a bounce back game, the Raiders are the team to do it against, because you know that even if you do have a repeat disappointing performance, the coaching staff of the Raiders will help you out, dude. They are on your side. They don't care about the game. Their job is secure. Like we said earlier, the Raiders don't have the cash to give Josh to get out. So they don't care who wins the game. They're going to be helping the other team like they always do. I like the Detroit Lions to cover 8. And I love the prop. This should be a slaughter. This should be a bloodbath. Our favorite kind of the Raiders.
All right. Philadelphia Eagles, Washington Commanders. Now, I went back and forth on this because obviously the Commanders just took this team to overtime in Philadelphia. But the Eagles, I feel like, are playing better football. One of the things we saw in their game against the Dolphins is that, well, and we should have known, we did know this. A.J. Brown is the best wide receiver that never gets talked about. We talk about Adams. We talk about Tyreek Hill. We talk about Justin Jefferson. Man, A.J. Brown he's for everything that Tyreek Hill is, A.J. Brown is the opposite. He is just big and strong, and he will just run you right over to get in the end zone. I love watching him play football. Such a stud. And it's hard to pick against this Eagles team. They are 6-1. The Commanders are holding on for dear life right now. I will say this, Ron Rivera, listen to me right closely. If you have a chance to go for 2 at the end of the game to win the game, you do it. You do it. You are not the better team here. You don't go to overtime against the better team. Anyway, I'm going to go with the Eagles as much as I would like to go with the Commanders. I just think the Eagles right now are playing good football. They just got too much. DeAndre Swift, man, what a steal. That one of the offseason steals for them to get DeAndre Swift. He does everything a little bit better than Miles Sanders. They upgrade. This really is an upgraded team from the Super Bowl team from last year. And I just like them. I think that they're rolling right now, and I think that they're going to go into Washington and they're going to beat an overmatched Commanders team.
I do have some breaking news here about the Philadelphia Eagles. As much as they may be incredible at football, they are terrible at 2K, because while we were recording this session, I get a text from my roommate as he dropped off Keely Ringo and Mecky Gardner in 2K during this show. So I just have to say, Kelly Ringo and Mecky Gardner, you guys stink. On the football side,
maybe I'm just old. I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't have to worry about it. It's a basketball video
games. Video games, Kyle.
I read books. I'm sorry.
Oh, you do your thing, Kyle.
I'm an old man.
You. It's okay. You can go to bed at 7 p.m.
I drink my whiskey and I read my books. What do I know?
A simple man with simple taste, right? And a man who has the correct taste in football picks, because the Eagles are going to wipe the floor with the Commanders. I think, again, we were just talking about a divisional rivalry that's playing out. Chiefs Broncos. I honestly think that there's a similar, obviously not as gaping, a similar skill gap between these two teams. I think the Eagles are a significantly more talented organization than the Commanders. I think the Eagles come out and wall upon them despite it being at FedEx. And I think that Jalen Hurts has he has his MVP moment in this game. I think this is the game where people start picking up the pace. He gets closer, and he gets about plus 700, plus 600 at MVP voting. I think this is where he breaks off and shows us that he's still here, and we don't have to doubt him at all. I think Eagles win.
The Eagles are contenders, and I think it's a little too early to call the Washington Commanders pretenders. I do think that there is a lot of questions around this team, especially taking that loss to the Giants last week. Uh, I do think this is an interesting situation, a good situation for Washington because this is a game where you don't necessarily have to win. You just have to give yourself a reason to believe that you can still compete for that wild card. Taking that loss to the Giants is really rough. You need to go answer some questions, not just for your fans, but to yourself. Are we still competitors? Can we still compete? Staying in the game keeps your season alive. I don't think you have to win to keep your season alive. You just need to believe that you are still a good competitive football team. If they can even keep it within possession, I think that that's a big win for the Commanders. With that being said, I off of just the trends right now, I think it's too hard to pick the Commanders and to bet on them. I'm rooting for them. I'm pulling for them. But I'm with y'all. I'm gonna have to take the Philadelphia Eagles to cover 6.5 here.
All right, let's go out to Seattle. And Tommy, there's a chance that the Seattle Seahawks are in first place after this week. Um, I think that they're going to beat the Cleveland Browns. The Browns, we know, are going to start PJ Walker again. Jerome Ford is now out for a couple of weeks, so really, Kareem Hunt, who had been on a pitch count the last few weeks, he's now the guy. I mean, the Browns, they've got Miles Garrett, who what a game he put on last week. Blocks a field goal, gets 2 strip sacks. He was fantastic. Obviously, this offense did put up a lot of points, but this is a different. This is a Seattle team that's much different than the Colts. They've got a great defense. You've got a lot of good players on the offensive side of the ball. They're in Seattle. You got that 12th man. Man, the Seahawks are playing good football. They got a big win against the Lions. They've stacked some good wins, and I just don't think the Browns. While the Browns are 4-2, I don't think the Browns have the horses to handle a trip to Seattle with the way the Seahawks are looking right now. I'm going to go with the Seahawks to cover the spread and probably win this game close to a touchdown. But Miles Garrett, he's a game wrecker. He can swing again. He can swing a point spread in one play. So just beware. Garrett strip sacks, picks up a fumble, all of a sudden scores a touchdown, and you got a big swing. But overall, the Seattle Seahawks are the better football team.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the plain and simple of it. I think Seattle is a much better team. And of course, Myles Garrett, he played his ass off last week. But we also have to take into account that the Seahawks offensive tackles, the tackle room there and the offensive line room is one of the most underrated in the league.
And they're getting healthy too, from what I understand.
Exactly. As you were saying that, I made sure to check the injury report. Not a single Seahawk on the injury report right now. That is incredible for this organization, for this team. I think the Seahawks, at their best, are a contender. And
absolutely
fully healthy with both of their star offensive tackles, I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Myles Garrett to get the looks he was getting because he was winning a lot of pass rushes against a very banged up Trent Williams. He won 33% of pass rush snaps, 0 sacks on the game. And I think that these two guys fully healthy versus Trent Williams with one leg, I'm picking the fully healthy guys every time. I think it's going to be a little bit tough for him because he can't just go to the weaker side. He has to play against the best offensive tackle. He has to play against a very good Pro Bowl level offensive tackle when he goes to either side of the ball. I still think he's going to succeed. He's going to have a lot of tackles, a couple TFLs, but he might not have a sack this game. It's a real world scenario where that doesn't happen. I think the Seahawks put a whipping on him.
Yeah, PJ Walker getting another start for the injured Deshaun Watson. Not that I would really sway towards the Browns, even if Watson was playing. I think it's going to be a rough environment. We know how loud Seattle gets. You know how exciting that defense is going to be. I don't know. Are we going to see Frank Clark this soon? I don't know. It could be interesting. It's going to be a fun game. I think Seattle lays an absolute whooping on Cleveland here.
No, Seattle's a fun team, and man, I mean, wouldn't we all want to just root for Geno Smith in the Super Bowl after what he's gone through in his career? Wouldn't that be awesome? I know that he's got to beat your team, Tommy, to get there, but man, if he were to get there, it'd be hard to root against him. That's all I'm saying. All right, from that game to the Battle of New Jersey, the New York Jets and the New York Giants. The Giants have played good football. They should have beaten the Bills. They did beat the Commanders. The Jets are obviously playing. I mean, the Jets, the last time we saw them, they beat the Eagles. And they're coming off a bye. I just like the Giants to cover. I think this is a 1 or 2 point game, and so I'm taking the points. The Jets may win this game on a last second field goal. Look, if you give me the choice between Tyrod Taylor and Zach Wilson, I think I'm going Tyrod Taylor. And,
good pick, Kyle. Smart man.
And if you give me the choice between Saquon Barkley and Breece Hall, I think that's a push. So we go back to Tyrod Taylor, and yeah, the Jets have a much better defense, but man, I really like the way the Giants are playing, and this is their designated home game, so it'll be more their fans than Jets fans that'll be there. And I don't know. I like getting 3 points. You get a team who's playing really good football right now, and they're getting 3 points at home. I'm going to take them. So I'm going Giants.
Kyle, I was worried. I was scared that you were going to pick the Jets. I was, because I have to go with the Giants here. And I think that the Giants organization is, I've said organization so many times. I think the Giants as a whole are just not great. But I mean, still talking about Daniel Jones being your number one guy. I know you paid him all that money, but this dude, Tyrod, every time you give Tyrod Taylor an opportunity to play football, whether it be on the Bills when he brought them to their first playoff berth in however many years, I know it was somewhat due to Andy Dalton going absolutely bonkers in the last game of the season, but still, regardless, he played well in the Chargers when he was first there. And I mean, everywhere he's gone where he's gotten reps, he has played his heart out. And we've seen it here. Am I wrong in saying that he has 2 starts and he has thrown for 479 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and that doesn't even include his rushing stats, because I'm fairly certain that he rushed for 25 yards in both games. So now he's 50 yards combined rushing. This dude has over 500 combined yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions in 2 starts. And those 2 starts were against the Bills and the Commanders, who are they're not laughable teams. I think that Tyrod Taylor, this could be such a jump, but I'm just going to go out and say it because I have so much confidence in this guy. If they let Tyrod Taylor run out the rest of the season as the starting quarterback, I think they'd have a winning record. I really do. I'm confident in that answer. I think Daniel Jones is what is making this team fail. Tyrod Taylor, I think, will win this game against the Jets. I'm picking him over Zach Wilson any day of the week. I think Breece Hall is going to have an incredible game, and I hope he does because he's on my fantasy team. But regardless, I think he's going to play well. But come on, man. Tyrod has proved himself 2 weeks in a row against 2 formidable teams. If he can play well against the Jets, I think that the entire Giants fan base is going to be fighting for him to take the starting job. We're going to hear his name cheered at every MetLife game that the Giants play for the rest of the season if he can dog out the Jets. I am all in on the Giants +3.
You're really selling this to me, Tommy. I'm not even going to lie to you. It's going to be one exciting 16-13 game. You know what I'm saying? This is going to be low scoring, and it's going to be fun. All right. I'm with you guys on the New York Giants. I'm here to take the points. I don't really have much inspiration for either team, though, I will agree with you. Look, I just pulled up the Giants' remaining schedule. Dude, if Tyrod can go out there, because I say it like Baker Mayfield. If Tyrod's out there, out just balling out, yeah, I think that they could end with a decent chance at making the playoffs. But what a what a few things have to go right there. I'm with you guys though this week on the Giants +3. I'm gonna just take the points. It's a weird game, but yeah, go defenses, right?
The total line on that is 37 points. Yeah, so you're going the under. I'm gonna guess.
Oh yeah, I'm saying at like what 29, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we're way under. We're way under at that point.
yeah.
All right, everybody, take the under on the Jets and Giants. Yeah, and Tommy, you're right. Tyrod he had 24 yards rushing against the Bills, 25 against the Commanders, including a 20-yard run. And yes, 2 touchdowns in that game. He has look. Maybe he's the next Geno Smith. Maybe he's the next guy who lucks into a QB1 spot, plays great, plays out of his mind, and gets that long-term deal. You know, he's been kind of stuck as a backup for all these years. Maybe he should be a guy.
I mean, I'm not going to say he's like Geno Smith because Geno Smith legitimately sucked for years. But Tyrod Taylor has been pretty good his entire career. I'm not gonna give him that Geno Smith designation just because Geno was dog water for like 3 years.
Yeah. Okay. Last game of the weekend for us. Texans, Panthers. It is number 1 pick Bryce Young versus number 2 pick CJ Stroud. And look, we're not giving up on Bryce Young. It's very early in his career, and Aaron Rodgers would not do well on that Panthers team. But CJ Stroud right now is easily the best quarterback of these two. And how are you going to pick against him? The Texans are legitimately a playoff contender. They have already matched last season's win total. A win this week, and they will have they will tie the most wins that they've had in 3 years. This is a team on the rise. CJ Stroud is a quarterback on the rise. The Panthers remain the only winless team in the NFL. They are also the only team in the NFL to be winless against the spread. Why would you pick the Panthers to break that streak now? The Panthers are going to stay winless against the spread. Hey, follow the streak. And right now the Panthers are garbage against the point spread. Texans getting 3 points in Carolina. The Texans are not getting 3 points. They're giving 3 points. They will easily cover that spread. I'm going CJ Stroud. This Houston Texans team is going to win this game by a touchdown.
I'm absolutely with you. Obviously, this would have been marketed a lot more with the 1 and 2 pick if the Panthers were serviceable, but the Panthers stink, and CJ Stroud has a habit of tearing up stinky teams. Bryce Young might have a game. I hope Bryce Young has a game. I hope this is motivation for him to keep it close. And I think that if there is a script in the NFL, that this would be a close scripted game. However, I do not believe the NFL is scripted. I do believe that CJ Stroud is a better quarterback, and I think that the entirety of the Texans team is better. I think DeMeco Ryans is a better head coach. Obviously, I'm a little biased there, but -3. I'm huge on that. I'm huge on the Texans. I've been huge on the Texans even after they were winless for a couple of games. All in.
I think that we should just take a second to acknowledge just the turnaround that this Texans team has made. They were a game away from picking first, right? And they are now sitting at second place in the AFC South. Just really, going beyond my expectations that I had set for them coming into this season. I think that you guys have it hit the nail on the head. I'm going Houston to cover 3 points as well.
All right. So those are our 15 games. We are almost done, but we still have to pick our favorites of the week, our top dogs, and our easy money lines. Tommy won our game. Tommy, you get to pick first. Let me get my sheet up here so I can record our picks. So, Tommy, please tell me who your favorite of the week is.
I am trying to find the game right here. I am going to pick the Baltimore Ravens.
BAL is giving 8.5 points. All right, I get at the Arizona Cardinals. Good pick. That was certainly on my radar as a pick. All right, Tommy, you're a top dog of the week.
This one's I can't believe I'm doing this to myself. This is just like self-sabotage. I'm going to go with the Bengals.
Well, you saw how that worked out for Ben last week when he picked the Packers. So if this is a means of getting the 49ers a victory, well done. You are
reverse psychology.
You are getting 5.5 points, which is actually quite a deal now. We lock in these spreads early so that we can make our picks. It's 3.5 now, and by the time the game starts, maybe it's even going to be lower. So well done on that. All right, Tommy, your easy money line pick of the week.
So I've had a habit of picking the underdog for my
Mhm.
money line every single week. I've gone plus money every single week. I lost the streak last week, sadly, 6-1 on the money lines.
We were all heartbroken for you.
It's all right. I mean, I was happy to see the Ravens play well, so it's okay. But I think this week I'm going to change it up. I'm going to go minus money, played a little safe here, but I think that the game is – I'm so confident that this team is going to win. I'm going to go with the Texans. I have minus 155. If you have anything nicer for me, I could
that's what I have as well as 155.
Beautiful. I'll take it.
Yes, after your bad week last week, you are still up $794. So no one is weeping for you. You've done just fine this season. That's good cake for 7 weeks of football betting. So well done on that. All right, Ben, on to you. Your favorite of week 8.
My favorite is going to be Detroit.
Detroit giving up 8 points. I was really hoping you were going to skip them since Tommy did. Sadly, I am not going to be able to pick them now. Thank you very much for that.
Go
All
Snoil.
right, go Snoils. Your top dog of the week.
I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh.
Ooh, Pittsburgh getting 2.5 points.
Yes.
Dog. All right, that will be a fun game to watch. I will. Well, if it doesn't conflict with when I'm at the stadium, I will be watching. And your easy money line pick of the week.
Easy money line. It's in the minus, but it's close to even. We're gonna go with the Minnesota Vikings minus 109.
Minnesota minus 109. All right. All right. So for my favorite, I'm going to run with that. I'm going to take the Vikings minus a point. Barely a favorite, but it counts. And I need a win. I am only 3-4 on picking favorites right now. So my top dog, I am going to go with the Chicago Bears getting 8.5 points against the Los Angeles Chargers. And how about this for my money line pick? I'm going to go with those New York Football Giants getting plus 128. So those are our picks. Tommy
I should have hit the Giants. God damn it.
Tommy has the Ravens as his favorite, minus 8.5. The Bengals plus 5.5 for his underdog and his money line pick. Houston Texans at minus 155. Ben's his favorite is minus 8 at the Detroit Lions. Top dog, the Pittsburgh Steelers at plus 2.5. And his easy money line is the Minnesota Vikings at minus 109. I am going with those Minnesota Vikings minus 1 as my favorite. Top dog is the Chicago Bears and Peyton Badgett at plus 8.5. And then my easy money line pick is the New York Giants at plus 128. That is week 8 in the books. We apologize for going so late. Please Apologize to the affiliate, Steve, on our behalf. We will try to tighten things up for week 9. On behalf of Mr. Tommy Burch in Springfield, Massachusetts, Ben O'Connell in Chicago, Illinois, I am Kyle Garlett in Denver, Colorado. As we do every week, we leave you with our football zen. This week, the newest hero in America, we're going to look back at Tyson Badgett's. That's how well known he is. Tyson Badgett's his college highlights with our football zen for the week. Until then, happy betting.
Go Nuggets! It's basketball season now in Denver. Let's go! Let's go, Denver!